Hi team, today we are going to assemble a Sunny Health and Fitness Performance Cardio Climber. This is an elliptical machine that uses some sort of magnetic resistance instead of the old pulley system. It's actually very smooth. You can see they package this guy very well. In fact, it probably took me more time to unpackage it than to build it. So they give you all of the hardware you need. You can see it there. They also give you an Allen wrench and a little kind of regular wrench. Obviously, if you have your own socket ratchet screwdriver that has that size Allen wrench, I would use that. And a crescent wrench of some sort, as opposed to the little thing they give you. Although what they give you will work, it just will be annoying and hurt your fingers. So this is the main unit right here. That it's not assembled yet, and you can see the construction is pretty nice on this guy. It's not cheap at all, not plasticky or anything. It's a pretty sturdy deal. And this is what I used instead of what they supplied. They supply these, little deals that work, but it makes it easier if you have your own. I have a ratchet screwdriver and a crescent wrench. It actually needed one crescent wrench. One size fitted all. I don't know why they have different sizes on the one they gave, but I had it ready just in case. So all of the hardware, the screws and so forth, nuts and bolts, and they come pre-wrapped and labeled quite nicely. If you have the instructions. If you don't have the instructions, then you can just watch this and see. We're going to start this off by using these bolts and some washers, because we're going to be attaching the base onto the main unit using the bolt and the washers. You might notice my little hand glove things there. How clever is that? Well, I wish I could come up with clever little devices like that. Whoever made that should make some good money, you would think. I mean, it really does. It helps you see. Anyway, so this here's the first piece we're going to put on, which is the front base piece. It has those little wheels on it, and it's real, obvious how this goes on. It just basically, you lift the base unit up. You could have a helper do it for you, or kind of get it yourself like I'm doing here and slide the base under there. Careful not to scratch your wood floor. Then you round up the washer, and there's also a lock or washer, and you put it on just like that. So the lock washer goes on first, and then the flat washer, just like I'm showing you here, and then you screw it in. We'll go ahead and screw the other side here in before we start to crank it down. And then, just like anything, when we start to tighten these down, torque it down a little bit and then get the other side. Don't torque one side as hard as you can and then start the other side, because what it does is, in some situations, is it'll torque down unevenly. And this part here is a little tough because it's kind of close to the main unit with my screwdriver, so you might even want to use what the Allen wrench they gave you for tightening it after using the screwdriver. It's just hard to grab the screwdriver with it so close to the main unit there. So, I used the one they gave us here to just kind of torque it down. And it works good. I mean, using this little Allen wrench thing works, but it'll just take a lot longer and hurt your fingers too. Whoops. Alright. The goal is to actually get the bolt into the unit there. There we go. I can do it. There we go. Alright, so tighten it down here. And then, once we're pretty sure we got this torqued down, we'll move on to our next step. Looks good here. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to get the other screws or bolts out. And the washers and lock washers or spring washers. And we're going to put the back base piece in next. Here's the back piece. Obviously the little flat things go down. And then we're going to slide the base unit on top of this. Very easy there. Put the bolts in with the lock washer first, and then the flat washer. Yeah, there we go. And we'll do the second one. Very good. So we'll tighten these down. If you have super strength, you can just do it with your fingers. You don't need to use any kind of tools. But I don't currently have super strength, so I'll tighten it down with the screwdriver, the ratchet screwdriver. And once we get these nice and evenly torqued down, reasonably so, we will get to work on our next part here. So we're going to want to pull out the next batch of bolts with these kind of cool washers. These are kind of these like bent washers we're going to take out here, and you'll see why. Because they're going to conform to the angle or the rounded nature of the next piece here. So we put this pole in, mast. That's what, is going to hold your electronics and so forth on. When we get a bolt in one of these nifty little rounded, contoured washers, and you just slide them in like this, making sure that the contoured washer is actually fits, like you have it the rounded side facing the mast, the pole. If it's like the lip is up, you have it the wrong way. So unscrew it and put it the correct way. I mean, it's not the end of the universe if you do it wrong. It just probably won't look good. And with it sticking up, it might not even hold as well. So we got that in there, and now we'll do the other side. Let's get. You might say, well, God, do you have knee pads on? Yes, I do. Thank you. Because it hurts getting on your knees all the time when you're doing these things. Anyway, so we're going to finish putting these bolts in just like this. It's rather self-explanatory once you get this going. We tighten them down with your fingers as best you can, and then we're going to break out the Allen wrench ratchet screwdriver and tighten these guys down just like this. And again, don't torque one completely. Snug them down, all of them. Then torque one at a time on opposite sides. Do that as a rule of thumb. Alright, so to the next part, we're going to get these longer bolts. That's right. Moving up in the world to big boy bolts. And these are for the foot pedals here. Now you can see these nuts that are going to go, they're black nuts, and they fit inside of the pedals. So this is the left one. You see the big giant L on it, and then there's a big giant L for left on the metal bar that it's going to go on. And basically, you just slide the bolt through the pedal, like I showed you there, and you can see it fits. It's very nicely engineered. And then you get the nut and screw the nut in on the bottom. And make sure the flat end is the one facing the metal. The tapered end kind of goes on the outside here. See how it's like tapered, and then there's the flat end. So the flat end is what's going to go against the metal. It's almost like it's a washer all by itself. And you just tighten these guys down, and then let's do the right side. Now, it has a big R on the bottom there, and on the metal piece, and you just put it in the exact same way. And then you got to climb underneath here, and we're going to screw these nuts in. And hand screw them in so they're nice and snug. And then we are going to break out the crescent wrench here. Now the top part you don't even have to do any hold it in because of the form-fitting the plastic for the pedal. It holds it there. I mean, keep your finger in there so it doesn't stick out, but man, you can see how this crescent wrench is a lot easier than that thing they give you. You just stick it on there and twirl it around. Goes nice. Now if you have to use what they give you, it works. Heck, there's people out there that probably don't use tools at all. Put their shirt in their hand and just tighten it. I don't know how tight they can get it. This depends how strong they are. Anyway, tighten it down good, but I wouldn't break it. Don't tighten it so much that it breaks it, so be careful with that. Now let's move on to the next interesting part of this, and we're getting this done. We're going to be pulling out these like stainless, almost chrome looking bolts that have flat washers and lock washers, and the bolts of course, and then these acorn nuts. They call these acorn nuts because they're not open-ended. They are closed-ended, which means it's going to be a finite distance. And I gotta say, the engineering's nice, the hardware's not cheap. So this is the stuff we're going to be using to put the handlebars in, and they're labeled with an L. And guess what? That L handlebar is going to go on the same side as the L foot pedal, the left foot pedal. And then you just slide it in, just like this. Yeah. There we go. And then the R goes on the other side. Just slide it in. Here we go. All right. So next we're going to put one of these nice bolts in there. It has a little bit of a contour form hex end on it, so it gets in there, it seats itself pretty much. And what we're going to do is just put all the bolts in first, just so it holds this thing nice and steady. And you can stick it in there so the kind of nut on the end there goes through. And then now we're going to get the form or contoured flat washer, just like before. Then the spring washer or the lock washer, and then the acorn nut on the end. Just like that. Look at that. I mean, come on. They did a nice job. I'll tell you what, sometimes these things are a pain in the butt to put together. But this one, I mean, it's maybe a little harder than Legos, but not much. I mean, it all fits. And it's no goofing around with it and clowning around. Everything works. Puts together. They did a good job. So we tighten this down, hand tighten it like usual, and then I'm going to break out the crescent wrench. Here. Yeah. And the other side you don't even have to mess with. You know, if this was something that we're doing on our own, but they have it form-fitting, that little nut on the bolt side, so you don't even have to hold it. I mean, just keep it from sticking out while you tighten it down. Again, don't super crank it. Just kind of snug them each one down so it's nice and even. Then once you have it evenly tightened, then go ahead and torque them. And again, I would be careful about using super strength on anything. I mean, if it's plastic, definitely be careful with super strength because you crack that plastic. I mean, this is all metal, so you could probably put some torque to it. But again, you know, if you are a strong, you know, lady and you are cranking this thing down and boom, you can snap one of these bolts. Don't do that. That's a mess. So just tighten them good. And let's move to the next step here, which is this electronic box. So we're going to need to put the batteries. They give you these batteries, or you can get your own. Use your own. There's these AAA deals. One side's positive, one side's negative. It's just like anything with the battery. The unit I have here is not real sophisticated. But whatever. So it's as simple as that. And these little screws that are in the back, these are the mounting screws. You take these screws out because this is what we're going to use to mount it to the unit. So instead of putting these in the little hardware bag or whatever that is, cardboard, they just leave them in the unit. So you got to take them out of the unit here. I said unit. all right. Anyway, just take them out. They come out easy. Let's get these out of here. And then we're gonna, once we get these out, you know, you just put the electronic device in the mounting bracket. But we gotta get these annoying things out of here real quick. Alright. And so the first thing before you mount it is just plug it in. It's a very simple, what is that, 8mm, I don't know, 3.5mm jack. Anyway, just plug it in. It doesn't matter what size it is. And then you put this guy up against the mounting bracket, and it has obviously a whole bunch of different mounts, so it's you know, they obviously sell different electronics for different devices, and they all have to be able to fit. So this one, just, you know, pick which one fits all 4 of the mounting screws and hand screw them in, you know, just to get it loosely fit on there. And we'll put all 4 on here. It's better to have little dainty fingers sometimes. And big fat fingers are not good in the tight spots, but make do. Alright, so once we get these all hand tightened in, we break out the little screwdriver and tighten it. And again, plastic here. You know, tighten it. Don't use the super strength. Even though it does have like a metal liner in there just to try to help prevent people from using their super strength and breaking this. But again, you know, you can strip this stuff. Just tighten it good. Worst case scenario, it gets loose and vibrates a little bit, and then you get in there and tighten it later on. Everything works. Yay! It's got a nice little holder there for your phone or tablet. There we go. So our last deal is arguably the most important part, and that's going to be the cup holder. That's right, we do need a cup holder so you're not constantly getting on and off the thing to get a drink. So they very nicely engineered this thing to go where it's out of the way, and it's rather simple to screw it on here, especially with a real screwdriver. I imagine with what they provide that would be a little bit trickier. Alright, okay, so there we go. Make sure it's nice and tight. You don't want that vibrating, especially don't want it falling off. You got a full drink in there, but it won't fall off. Alright, so that's it, guys. That's our last step. Let's take a look at this bad boy. Not that bad boy. He doesn't like it. There it is. That's a nice unit. I like it. Alright. Well, I certainly hope that this assembly guide video, do-it-yourself video, helped. And if it did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. And enjoy. Bye now.